I'm Daniel, and I've been creating videos on YouTube for exactly 4 years now. In that time, I've been lucky enough to try out many different camera bodies, and most importantly, I've learned what actually makes the biggest difference when it comes to frictionless content creation. So in this video, I want to share the gear that actually helps me create content and the philosophy that guides every single purchase, especially when it comes to camera gear. Because let's be real, this hobby can burn a hole through your wallet really quickly. Most of the content I make happens when I'm out and about. I love sharing little moments in my life that catch my eye. The stuff that makes me pause and think, wow, that's really pretty. So for me, the key is having a portable and flexible setup. And when it comes to my main camera, I really have only 2 non-negotiables. The first is that it has to shoot 10-bit color. One of my favorite parts of creating videos is using color as a part of my storytelling. That means I need enough flexibility to shape and change the colors depending on what mood I'm aiming for. The second is that it has to be easy to use. Typically when I'm going about my day-to-day, unless it's pre-planned, I won't have time to set up my camera. This means I have to be able to access all of my essential settings like exposure and focus quickly and usually only with one hand. With these 2 things in mind, I ended up with the Sony ZV-E1 and the 24-105 f4 lens. Although this setup isn't the smallest, it is the most versatile and affordable option you can buy right now. It shoots great 10-bit color, and the way that I have it set up right now is perfect for my shooting style. If you want a technical deep dive, I'll have some great resources linked down below. But what I really want to talk about in this video is how this setup feels to use. Because sometimes when you're shopping for gear, it's easy to get caught up in the specs and forget about what's actually like to carry this stuff around. One of the big reasons why I decided to go with Sony over the other camera brands was because of its lens selection and reliable autofocus. I literally take this camera with me everywhere. So having a combination of great autofocus and being able to use tiny lenses depending on what environment I'm in allows me to stay present and capture genuine moments. There is one other reason why I decided to go with the Sony ecosystem, but I'll get to that in a little bit. Now, this next point might sting a little bit if you're like me and you really love gear, but the quality of your footage doesn't matter nearly as much as the quality of your audio. I watch a lot of videos, and honestly, shaky, low-quality visuals can still work. And sometimes they even enhance the vibe or the story. But I can't think of many, if any, situations where bad audio makes a better video. That's why I'm very intentional with how my audio sounds every time I film. Over the years, I've narrowed it down to 3 main microphones that I rotate between depending on what project I'm on. In a bit, I'll break down when and how I decide to use each one of them. One of the other reasons why I chose to go with the Sony ecosystem was because of their shotgun microphone. Normally, when you use a shotgun mic with your camera, you have to run a cable from the mic to the camera's audio port. Honestly, it's kind of like using wired headphones. Once you've tried Bluetooth, you'll never want to deal with cables again. That's exactly how I feel about Sony's ECM B10. It attaches right into the camera's hot shoe with no cables and produces great, clear audio every time. I use it for about half my videos, especially anytime I'm recording in-camera audio. What I love most about this microphone is that I don't have to be constantly checking or monitoring my audio levels while I'm filming. And by cutting out the cables, I've also reduced the chances of something getting caught, disconnected, or broken mid-shoot. There is nothing more frustrating than coming home after a day of filming and realizing that none of your clips have audio because you forgot to turn on the mic. As I mentioned before, this is just another piece of my toolkit that allows me to stay in the moment because I never have to worry if the audio sounds good or not. Now, you may be catching on to it, but staying in the moment and capturing genuine reactions is one of my goals when I create videos. So these tools allow me to do that. And if you're interested, Sony actually makes a few different models of this microphone. It's also important to note that these microphones don't work with older Sony cameras, so you have to make sure to do your research before you decide to choose one over the other. Sometimes I'm unable to capture my immediate thoughts, feelings, or reflection. And when that happens, I use something like this, the Rode NTG. This mic handles the other 50% of my audio, especially for voiceovers or anything I record later on. The reason why I use this microphone over the others is simply because it was the first microphone I bought when I was just starting out. And the USB Type-C connection allows me to connect it to my computer directly without an audio interface. I've thought about upgrading this microphone many times to improve my voiceover quality, but similar to most aspects in life, camera equipment follows the law of diminishing returns. So as gear gets more and more expensive, the quality gets harder and harder to discern for the typical viewer. And honestly, I don't see the point of adding complexity when I'm still focused on becoming more consistent. The third microphone I use is this one, right here. It's known as a lav mic. The specific model that I use is on the higher end, but honestly, like most lav mics, they all kind of allow you to do the same thing. Move freely away from the camera while still capturing clean, crisp audio. I only use this mic when I'm sitting further away from the camera, like right now, or when I'm aiming for a different look and feel. But honestly, the reason why you don't see this in my typical videos is because it just takes too long to set up. So while I always keep one in my kit, I really only pull it out for client shoots or those situations where I need a specific style. Now, all the gear that I've talked about so far, the camera, the microphone, the lenses, they're all incredibly expensive. But what I love most about filmmaking are the little tools that aren't too expensive but have a huge impact on how I make these videos. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you is seriously underrated. It's this quick release system by PGY-Tech. I have these quick release plates basically on everything. Literally anything I need to get on and off quickly has a quick release on it. It just removes the friction of getting the shot because it makes setting up and breaking down much faster. At one point, I also used the Mantis Pod, but I found myself getting a little self-conscious when I was using it, and everyone knows you're holding the camera anyways, so instead, when I do vlog, I just hold the camera and lean into the fact that I'm holding on to the camera. For other shots you may have seen on my channel, I may have been using this. This is a friction or magic arm. The one that I'm holding right now is one of the more premium and heavy-duty options out there because it can support more weight, but if you have a lightweight setup, you can go with one of the cheaper options on Amazon. A quick tip for those of you who shoot content all day. If you're like me, and you don't have enough money to spend on SD cards, what I'll do is constantly be backing up to a minimum of 2 different places throughout my day. The reason why I back up to 2 different places is because I've had both SD cards and SSDs fail on me. The last thing that never leaves my camera bag is this camera strap and camera clutch, specifically from Peak Design. The reason I go with this system is because I'm able to quickly take it on and off depending on what my needs are. Sometimes I just want to have the camera with me and document some moments casually, and other times I want my camera to be on hand at all times in case I need to react to something quickly. It all just depends on what I'm looking to do that day. So having a system I can easily and quickly change out of in a matter of minutes really removes the friction of carrying my camera around. Now, that's essentially all the gear I use to make my videos, and it's been super enjoyable to create content with them. But there's one last point I want to talk about in this video, and that is friction when it comes to creating content. I do think that gear matters, but only when it helps you tell the story. I prefer using a system like this because it gives me everything that I need in one small, affordable package. If the camera is too expensive, too heavy, or just too hard to use, I'm way less likely to take it with me and capture interesting or beautiful moments during my day. Plus, a lot of people forget to mention that when it comes to cameras, the body is just the tip of the iceberg. Once you buy a body, you have to get lenses, media, a computer that's good enough to edit on, storage to store everything, all of which gets exponentially more expensive with every small increase in image quality. By having an affordable camera body, it allows me to use that extra money on great lenses, a better computer, and faster, more reliable media storage. All of which in my opinion, has an even bigger impact on how effortless the content creation feels. Since creative marketing these days is so good, I find myself often tempted to upgrade to a better or newer system. But before I hit the checkout button, I always ask myself if this will help the type of content that I like to create, or if it will help me generate more revenue from helping other clients. If the answer is no, then I'll just hold off until something does appear that actually suits my needs. So that's basically it. This is all the gear that I use to create my content. If you're interested in any of the gear that I mentioned, I have affiliate links down below. And if you enjoy productivity / self-development vlogs, please subscribe. My goal here is to post every single week.